I feel like a lot of agents try to flex how much they know about Medicare. And by the end of the day, like they don't care. They don't
Hmm.
care. They want to know how much is it going to cost them? Are they covered doing this? How much is it going to cost them to go to the doctor, the hospital? How much are their prescriptions going to be? That's what they want to know. Now, should you know the front and back? You should, just in case somebody wants to know. But at the end of the day, they want to know the basics. How well can you explain to them the basics without making them confused? And how good are you at using illustrations or analogies that make it make sense to them?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Medicare Sales Playbook. I'm your host, Dallas Keithley, and you guys have absolutely blown me away with your interaction. And that is why we do this. Yeah, the multi-million-dollar paycheck is great. I'm just kidding. There's no multi. If it is, it's still in the mail. The reason we do this, I get asked all the time, Dallas, why are you doing the podcast? What's the purpose of it? What's the goal? Are you trying to recruit? Are you trying to, our goal is to help people. Our goal is to make a mark on this industry. This industry has been very, very good to me, and I want to give something back towards it, to it. And that's why I want to do this podcast. So it's in saying that, keep doing it, keep commenting, keep letting us know. Reach out to me, dallas.keithley@medicaresalesplaybook.com. We are doing the last Wednesday webinars. Those have been phenomenal. We have one coming up here, and depending on when this airs, it's the last Wednesday of October is when it happens. So could be in a week or two. We want you to be on there. We're going to be talking to Pat Schmidt, who is a financial advisor that specializes in helping people on Medicare. And he's going to be talking about how to elevate cases and make money without writing an app. So if that interests you and you're not on the Wednesday webinar list yet, please send me your email. I'll add it to you. I'll add you to the list, and then you can get rolling. But today, let's jump right to it. Today, I am joined by a gentleman that reached out to me and said, Dallas, I want to be on the podcast. I met him at a Cody Askins event. And this cat, I started following him on Instagram. This cat is impressive. And I like that he reached out and said, I want to be on the podcast. I've got something to give to people. And man, a lot of you might say, well, Dallas, that's brash. It's not arrogant. It's not brash. It's saying, hey, I love this business and I've got something to give. So please help me welcome to the show, Mr. Caleb Caldwell. Caleb, how are you doing, buddy? Good to have you on the show.
Man, Dallas, thank you so much. I'm so pumped. Been listening to you for, going on 2 years now. So to be here is surreal.
Oh, dude, this is great. And I want to say thank you for reaching out and for saying, hey, I got something to give. I want to be on the show. Now, on your Instagram, you go by Caleb, the Medicare Coach, right?
Yes, sir.
I have been following you guys, watching you, and I say you guys because you've always got your wife in there. I love that. You're a family guy. I can see your why. I can see why you're doing what you're doing. And correct me if I'm wrong. I'm assuming it's what's on your videos. It's the wife, it's the kid, it's helping people, right?
Oh, 100%. I feel like that's what I was put on this earth to do. And this business has allowed me to do that in a way that I never thought possible. So being able to have a career that translates to, my moral compass, wanting to help people, wanting to lead people, and getting to do it in a way. And you're getting to hang out with people's grandparents like all day, which is the coolest thing in the world. So I love it.
Yeah. Because you're pretty kind of new to this, right? I mean,
Yes,
you're
sir.
coming into your second AEP.
Yes, sir.
Right. What has been, and we're going to get to the topic here in just a second, but what has been maybe the most surprising, hardest thing and the most surprising best thing? That may not be great grammar, but it works, right? What has surprised you and what has been something that maybe punched you in your face and you had to get back up?
Just in general, I think the business, right? Most people don't even know our job exists. So one, how impactful our business can be has been one of the most surprising things, as well as how uneducated most seniors are as they're getting into it, just about Medicare alone. How a lot of people, even if they have Medicare, they don't really know what it is or how it works. They were just told that they had to get it. And then I think on the other side, what is the best thing? The best thing is the relationships that you get to create with people. You get to be that person that they can call if 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. And a lot of people don't have people, right? These are people 65 and older. So if they don't have a son or a daughter or a grandson or granddaughter, somebody in their corner fighting for them, you can be that person for them and say, hey, Miss Jerry, you actually are entitled to more money. Did you know that? And most of the time they don't. So being able to put money back in people's pockets and it doesn't cost them anything to work with me, I think is the coolest thing ever.
That's awesome. And when it comes to helping people, I love the Medicare side of things because it's very rare that I walk out of a house and they're not saving money. Now,
Hmm.
occasionally we'll throw in a hospital indemnity plan or some dental, vision, and hearing that they needed. But a lot of times when I walk out, they're better off financially than they were when I walked in.
Right.
And there's not too many sales jobs that can say that, right?
Right. Most of the time, people, when you think of sales, most of the time when somebody's buying something, they don't wake up in the morning thinking that they're going to buy it, right?
Mhm.
And most of the time, they have buyer's remorse because it puts them in a worse financial position, whether they wanted it, needed it, even if it was a fridge or whatever. Like you need that, but financially, it puts you in a worse position. So to be able to set them up for a better position in life, and I'm gonna either save you money, or even put money back into your pockets, all because I know the rules and somebody taught me the rules and how to play the game, and we're just going to play the game the best way possible.
Yeah, I love that, man. Now, before I know, listen, this show is brought to you by ADHD. Like we've got to get some kind of medication sponsor or something like that. But before we go in, like I said in the beginning, um, your physical health and your mental health are both very important to you.
Yes, sir.
How long has that been important to you? Why is it important to you? And what made you realize that that is important?
Yeah, that's a great question. So my name is Caleb, the Medicare Coach, because I was a strength and conditioning coach for 8 years before I got into the business. So when I first started, I got into fitness as a personal trainer, a group fitness coach. I was on Orange Theory, so I was on a microphone, acting like a DJ, coaching people. Like it was the coolest job ever. And then I decided I like working with adults, but I really enjoy working with kids because they're just a lot easier to impact because they haven't had 20, 30, 40 years of experience. So it's really, I can impact them. And so I opened my own business. I train kids out of my garage. I have a full garage gym. And that was my passion. That's what I felt called to do. I ended up going to work at a school because I wanted to work with teams. Because when you're working with individual athletes, you're not really going to see them perform because I'm always working, right? So I wanted to work with teams. And then in working with teams, I started to see, how it's not really about the sport, right? It's about the lessons that you're learning for life, but how translational it is. And I love fitness because fitness is very, like I said, translational and effective, like 1 + 1 = 2, right? I
Mhm.
always tell people if you go into the gym and you can't get 135 off of your chest, it's nobody else's fault but your own. And it's not necessarily your fault as in a bad thing, but you haven't put in the work to be able to do it. And so your physical health is something that nobody can give you or take away from you. You have to earn it yourself. And it shows your discipline, and that translates to the rest of life. The reason that it's so important to me is because about 4 years ago, my mom called me one day and she said, "Hey, Bubba, I'm not gonna be able to go to church today. I'm not really feeling very good." And I said, "Okay, no worries. Go ahead and just rest up and I'll see you later." This went on for like a week. She's like, "I feel better. I feel worse. I feel better. I feel worse." One day I went over to her house, and I unlocked her door and I was like, "Mom," and she didn't really answer. And so I went into her room and she was incoherent, and basically she just wasn't herself. And so I had to call 911, and she went to the hospital. Like 2 hours later, they came out and said, "Your mom has COVID." And from that moment, I was then she called me on her phone, and I thought it was my mom, and it was her nurse. And they said, "Hey, if we can't get her heart rate down, we're going to have to put her on a ventilator." And so I just wanted you to talk to her one last time. And so I talked to her. I was like, "Hey, everything's going to be okay. You're going to be fine." And my thing with my company was always, "Don't you quit." And so that's what I told her. I said, "Hey, don't you quit. You're going to be great." That was the last time I ever talked to my mom. My mom was on a ventilator for 30 plus days, and she ended up passing away from COVID when
Mm.
she was 56 and I was 26. The reason I tell that story is for two reasons. One, when my mom passed, it said COVID, but it also said and obesity. So obesity runs in my family. So it's something that I've been trying to run from my entire life. And the second reason I tell that story is because my mom didn't go to the doctor or a hospital for those 10 days because she didn't have insurance and she wondered how much it was going to cost her. And it ended up costing her life. So now that God has placed me in this position, I've seen physically how important it is to take care of your body to get to 65. But once you're 65, I have clients that are 80 that take no medicine and are the healthiest people you've ever met, and I have people who are 65 and take a bunch of medicine. So I see how your quality of life doesn't matter your age. It's what you do when you're 20, 30, 40 that matters when you're 50, 60, and 70.
Wow, dude, I threw that question out there, not knowing, like we didn't prep for that or anything like that. Um, not knowing what I was going to get back, but boy, it explains a lot about who you are and what you do. Um, when you have a why like that in your back pocket, pushing you forward, that's powerful, dude. And, you know, we all don't have Caleb's story, but everybody does have a story. So, man, I really appreciate you sharing that. I'm really sorry to hear about your mom.
I appreciate it.
I love your attitude towards it, though. I
Thank
love
you.
that your mom's life is still affecting people through you. And that's a legacy. That's what we call a legacy, right? So that is incredible, man. I appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course. Let's jump into some coaching. So Caleb, like I said, he reached out, he said, Dallas, I got something to give people. Like, you know, I've got something that I believe is going to help people. So I asked him, I said, okay, Caleb, talk to me about what you would tell a new agent. If you had to train on something Medicare related, what would you do? And you came back and said, Dallas, I would teach people how to get their first 100 clients. Here's how you get your first 100 clients. And dude, that is a powerful topic because I believe once you hit that 100, this business is very hard until it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can get someone from 1 to 100 or from 0 to 100, you are setting them up for a path to success moving forward. It's a train that, man, you better get off the tracks because it's moving. So, man, I want to know, I've got a brand new agent, right? They come in, they just passed their test. They just learned that they got to take another test called AHIP. They're ready to rock though. They're full of, vinegar and whatever else you want to say. They're ready to go. How are you getting that agent to 100 applications?
Yeah. So the first thing is, and this is very simple, everyone always says it, but finding a good mentor, okay? Finding somebody who is doing exactly what you want to do, okay? So I'm not going to ask somebody who runs an ice cream stand how to be a Medicare specialist. I'm not, right? And I'm not going to ask somebody who's not successful how to run a successful business. So first thing that I did is I found my upline. So my upline, her name is Susie Brown. She goes by Downtown Susie Brown. She is one of the coolest people I've ever met in my entire life. She has been doing this business for 25 plus years. She worked for the state of Oklahoma. She's worked for DHS. She knows Medicare more than anybody I've ever met. She literally eats, breathes, and sleeps it. Okay. I don't sleep it. When I sleep, I turn it off. Right. But when I'm awake, I'm trying to make some money. I'm trying to help people. So that would be the first thing, is that I would have a conversation with them and I said, okay, so here's the thing is we're going to have to drop our ego. Okay. Cause that was my biggest thing coming into this. I came as a coach and I would always tell people, like, are you still coaching? And I would tell them, I'm not, we had a kid, I'm doing something now that's going to allow me to spend more time with my kid. And they'd be like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm a Medicare agent. And I'd be like, yeah, it's not sexy, but it allows me to spend more time with my family. And so the problem with that was that I wasn't bought into it. Medicare was just like my next job. I wasn't a Medicare agent or a Medicare specialist. And my ego was up at a certain level. And so the first thing you're going to do is drop your ego and say, I am going to become a Medicare specialist. This is what I'm going to do. Okay. And once you do that, it allows you to go in and say, teach me how to be successful. Because that's all I did to my upline. I went in there, we met for the first time, and she said, I will teach you everything I know if you want to be taught, but you're going to have to work really hard. Working hard has never been a problem with me. I work 12 to 14-hour days as a coach. Like, working hard was never the problem. It was lack of direction. So I told her, I will do whatever you ask me to do. And so that's what I've done. I've said, so she told me to get this CRM. I got that CRM. She told me to order cards from here. I did that. She said, you need to set up a seminar doing here. Literally, if she would have told me to walk down, lick the ground, jump 5 times, I would have done it. And I would have said, okay, what's next? Because she is successful. So that would be my main thing is that if you want to be successful, success has footprints. All you have to do is just ask somebody how to be successful and then do exactly what they tell you to do. And even if you're not as good as them, which you're not going to be and you're not supposed to be, you're still going to be successful in one way or another, because even a blind squirrel finds a nut, right?
Ooh,
if you're working hard enough, and you're doing the work, somebody's going to sign up with you. Right? It's not rocket science.
Yeah. Love that, man. And so as we think about finding a mentor, number one, that's brilliant. We've said it time and time again. The quickest way to get somewhere is by asking somebody who has been there. How do I get there? Right. So I love that. What are there? There are a lot of social media mentors out there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, not throwing shade at anybody whatsoever, but there are a lot of people that say, here's what you do. Here's what you do. How are you finding someone that truly is successful?
Well, I think, social media is just a highlight reel, right? So anybody can look successful on social media, but like I said, I've seen the work that Susie puts in and day out. I've seen what she sacrificed to be able to help me, but also having like discernment, right? Because some of the people that you meet that are successful, not every person that you meet that is successful is going to be how you want to run your business, or are you going to be good at the same things that they're good at, right? So
Mhm.
there are people that I have met in this industry that I quote unquote looked up to, and then I met them and I thought, that's okay. They're good at that, but I don't really want to be like that. And
Mhm.
you can learn from them in other ways. And it's not right, wrong, or indifferent. It's that people have special gifts, and I'm going to capitalize on what I'm really good at, and what I'm not good at, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, you can go ahead and do that. That's not really my style. And that's
Yeah.
okay. But being able to, how do you find that, right? Success isn't it, like the proof is in the pudding, right? I know she's told me on multiple occasions how much she makes, right? Not that that's the whole point, but at the
Mhm.
end of the day, I didn't do this, to be able, not to be able to take care of my family.
Mhm.
So I know how much she makes. I see how hard she works. I see the growth that I have been able to make within myself by doing what she's asking me to do. And so I think, social media is great and you can learn from people, but at the end of the day, the reason that this has been so impactful for me is because I've had a one-on-one relationship with her in person on video calls. I've gone to her seminars. We went over the seminars at her house and she said, "Nope, stop, do it again. Don't do that with your hands. Stand up taller. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't say this." And you're like, "Oh," and at first it's a lot, but now that I do it, it's so second nature to me that I'm like, she was right.
Wow. And I saw two things there. One was the first thing you said, you got to drop your ego. Right. And so here you are. How old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
I'll be 30 in November.
So a 29-year-old man standing in front of a female, and sometimes we as men, we're like, what's she going to teach? You know what I mean? Like we've all
Mhm.
been there. Um, but you're like, you know what? I'm willing to say, you have something I want. Therefore, I am willing to listen to you and all that. And that takes some humility on your part. So kudos to you. But also, you found a mentor that was willing to say the hard thing. Don't do that.
Mhm.
Stop. And I think it's important to know that when you have someone like that, sometimes it's hard to hear. You're like, wait a second, who are you to tell me how to stand? Like, or who are
Mhm.
you to tell me? But when you realize that, when you trust that they have positive intentions, when you trust that they are a person that is looking to guide you and direct you, you realize, hey, that wasn't easy for her to say. It would have been easier for her not to say that.
Mhm.
So she took the time to say it. Therefore, I better listen. Right.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's because I'm a former athlete or whatever, but like being coachable, I feel like is a skill, right?
Mm,
And
very
so
much.
there's no point in me coming here and say, "Hey, Susie, will you help me?" And then she gives me all this information and I don't use any of it. I feel like that's disrespectful. And coming from being a personal trainer, right? People would come to me all the time and say, "I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to do all this stuff. I want to work out with you, but I'm not going to do squats." And it's like, first of all, we haven't even had a session. How are you going to tell me what you are and aren't going to do? And if you
Yeah.
knew what to do, you probably be doing it and you wouldn't be asking my guidance. So I couldn't go in there and say, "Hey, I'll do X, Y, and Z, but I'm not going to do this." Cause then she'd be like, "Well, then I don't care. I have better things to do."
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love when people come to me and tell me, "Hey, I've not been successful for 12 years, but here's what I want to do and here's what I'm not going to do." Right? So,
Hmm.
love that. So, okay, so find a mentor. Step 2. What's next?
So this may be a little controversial,
Oh,
but I think that a lot of people come into this business and they think that they have to become like really good at one thing. I don't necessarily agree with that, and that's just my personal opinion. I think that the more that you know, the more useful you are, right? And so if I just knew about Medicare, that's great, and I learned just about Medicare, but I've also learned about annuities. I've also learned about life insurance, Social Security. I have a guy in our office that is a CFP that does taxes. Like I've been able to learn about the business as a whole because it all aligns with each other. And so being able to become a student of the game. And so what I mean by that is that I fully immersed myself in Medicare, in insurance, that, your podcast was how I grew a lot during AEP, but I listened to it when I was working out. So I'm a kinesthetic learner. So that means that I learn better when I'm moving. So I listen to podcasts and books and stuff when I work out, because I feel like I just retain more information. So when I wasn't working, I would listen to Medicare Sales Playbook, or I listened to a lot of Cody Askin stuff, or I listened to Andy Frisella. I'm not sure if you're familiar with
Come
him.
on. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Andy Frisella
Yeah.
is on my Mount Rushmore. Met him a couple of times. Absolutely fantastic guy. But listening to people who are doing or have done what you want to do. My dad used to always say, "Hey," because I played multiple sports, and so he would say, "Hey, right now you look like a guy that plays basketball." And I was like, "Okay." He's like, "You're not a basketball player." Right? You know the difference, right? You have somebody who's a basketball player and they're really good and that's what they do. And then you have other guys who like put on the jersey and like they play basketball. So
Mhm.
that was what he told me in this was, hey, if you're going to do this, you need to give it everything that you have. You need to invest yourself. And that's how I am. I'm like an all or nothing person. So I literally, my wife thinks I'm so nerdy. She'll walk into the gym and I'm listening to Dallas. I'm listening to Cody. And she's like, "This is so boring." And I'm like, "Dude, they're giving me nuggets right now. Like, this is like, I'm taking it all in." But I feel like you have to fall in love with it. This is not a business that you're going to be super successful in if you just kind of try, or if you just kind of do it. You have to give everything that you have. And that's the biggest thing, is that your activity of what you're willing to do, you can't say no to anything when you first start. So when I first started, I sat in CVS 3 days a week. I met maybe one person I signed up, but I got really good at talking to people. I go and I sit at events. We had like a Czech festival, like a fair. I'll go put up tables there and all that stuff. And like, is it the most fun thing in the world? No, but it allows me to get in front of people. And also, you never know who you're going to run into. And I tell you what, I'm definitely never going to run into anybody in my house. I know that. So if I'm not doing anything, then there's no way that I can talk to somebody and let them know what I do and how I can help them.
100%. And I love that. If we could train agents, when you get in front of a person, you're going to have a reason that you got in front of them. It may be Medicare, and you need to address the primary concern first. However, that person is an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
They may be an annuity client. They may be a life client. They may be a hospital indemnity client. They may have a business that needs a key man employee coverage, right? It is just, and I think the way to do that, and I applaud you, that's amazing, is to, we've talked about the cross-selling sheet forever. One of my agent was asking me, if you could tell an agent one thing that's starting out, I would tell them use that cross-selling sheet every time they sit in front of someone. But it's looking at every client as an opportunity to do business and to put them in a better situation.
100%.
They're not a Medicare client. They're a person that needs help, right?
Right.
Love
Yeah.
that. Love
Yeah.
that. So we've got a mentor. We've got looking at an opportunity. And sorry, I interrupted you there. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I'm just saying retirement is so complex and hard that if you lock yourself in a box, right? If I'm just I say Caleb the Medicare coach, but I let them know I do other things. But if you lock yourself in a box, you're leaving money on the table. And then two, you're not really doing the best by your client. Because even if I don't know the answer to something, I know somebody who does, and I'll figure it out for you. Even if
Right.
you need a new roof, I've got a guy. I don't know anything about roofs, but he does.
Yeah. I mean, imagine a basketball coach saying, now listen, the only thing I work on is layups. I'm your layup guy.
All right.
Jumper,
Yeah.
nah, layup, I got you. So I love what you said. Don't lock yourself in a box. Now that takes work. That takes work learning life insurance. That takes work. I always say there's two ways that you can increase your business portfolio. You either have to learn it or you have to meet somebody that does, or that knows it. And so those are the two things that have helped us out immensely.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. So now we've got the mentor, we're listening, we're learning, we're becoming students of the business. Let's talk about, like, how am I actually signing people up?
Mm-hmm. So I was in a different, position than everyone else. So my father-in-law has his own capital management company. And so he had been telling me for years to get into the business. And so I was like, no, that sounds boring. And so then once we had a kid and I didn't want to work 12 to 14-hour days anymore, I want to spend time with my son. And I thought, in 5 years from now, am I going to want to go to his games or am I going to want to go to these games? And so I just decided, I'm going to take a leap of faith. And I came to him and I was like, hey, can I still, is this still an opportunity? He's like, yeah, you're going to sell Medicare. And I was like, what is Medicare? Right. I had no idea. And so I have an office in a financial advisor, office. So we have clients coming in every day that are in retirement or walking into retirement. So I have a leg up there. But as far as that, like seminars, I think are the greatest. Yeah, they're expensive, but for me, talking to people is my strong suit. I'm not afraid to talk to people. And whether that be good or bad, whether I may annoy some people or not, right? I can get up in front of people and I can make something that seems complex and I can make it simple, simply because I was a strength and conditioning coach. I taught people that couldn't scratch their knees how to squat, right? I
Mm.
literally, some of the worst athletes that walk this planet, I love them dearly as people. Athletics is not their thing. They knew how to lift weights because I take something complex and I take it to something you're familiar with and I make it sound super simple. And once you can do that, that's where they trust you. So when people come to seminars, I feel like a lot of agents try to flex how much they know about Medicare. And by the end of the day, like this is just my personal opinion, they don't care. They don't
Mhm.
care. They want to know how much is it going to cost them? Where is it? Where are they covered doing this? How much is it going to cost them to go to the doctor, the hospital? How much are their prescriptions going to be? That's what they want to know. Now, should you know the front and back? You should, just in case somebody wants to know. But at the end of the day, they want to know the basics. How well can you explain to them the basics without making them confused? And how good are you at using illustrations or analogies that make it make sense to them?
Man, that if people will listen to that right there, I do seminars all over the country. I've done hundreds of them. Almost every one, someone will come up and say, "You made this so understandable." I've went to 9 of these and I walk away every time going, "I don't know if I'm supposed to have GQ, elemental P, when can I enroll?" And I want to go and I want to watch other seminars and ask these guys, what are you telling people? Like,
Mm-hmm.
make it simple. I read that years ago. If you want to make a lot of money, take something complex, make it understandable and simple, and people will beat down your door to get to you. And so
Mm-hmm.
I love that you said that. Just take something, make it simple, make it understandable. When I take my oil in to be changed, I don't need to know why there's something in my car called a piston.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know that here's how much it cost. They changed the oil, and here's when I need to come back. That's it. Right?
100%.
Just make it simple. Love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. You're good.
No, so yeah. So seminars are going to be huge, but that's not everybody's cup of tea, right? Not everybody's good at standing in front and talking to people. So what are you willing to, and this is the biggest thing that's been a hurdle for me. What am I willing to invest my money in as far as getting in front of people? Is that going to be paper leads, digital leads, like whatever? I'm not a huge fan of those. Those just aren't me. And that's okay, right? But I
Mhm.
have no problem. I will find a clinic and we'll work together. I think that's a huge thing too, is like networking. So working with clinics that are Medicare approved and finding and saying, hey, I'll pay for the food or I'll pay for the mailers if you pay for the food, right? Still can, cut down on your cost a little bit. And as well as, it's allowing for them to get in front of, 30 plus people as well. So networking is going to be huge, and knowing how you can help your clients, right? If I've got a client that says, I don't really like my primary care physician, cool. I've got 3 clinics that I work with that you can try all 3 of them if you want, and you'll find the best one. And if you don't like those, cool. I've got a whole list of other primaries that are close to your house, and we'll keep trying doctors until you find one.
Yeah. Man, that's going outside the box there, dude. You know what I mean? That's not just, hey, here's Medicare. You can have a supplement. You can have an Advantage plan. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
don't like my doctor. Okay. I don't know what to do there. Do you want a supplement or Advantage plan? That's where a lot of agents land. You're going outside the box, trying to, again, encompass a client as an opportunity and someone that you can help, and then they can help you in return.
Right.
That's amazing. Love that, dude. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I love what you said about how, you know, I heard it said years ago, when it comes to marketing, nothing works all the time. Everything works some of the time. It's
Mm-hmm.
finding where you are comfortable. And I heard what you said about having a father-in-law in the business. I would encourage you, never be ashamed to be like, yeah, I had a leg up. No, you didn't. Your father-in-law has probably had other people that he's approached and said, hey, I need a Medicare guy, come to my
Mm-hmm.
office and do this. And they're like, you grab something. We're all given opportunities. People that say, you know what, that's not fair. Caleb had this or Caleb. Life's not fair. But I
Mm-hmm.
promise you, God has given you opportunity and put something in front of you that you can grab and run with. So I love that you said, you know what, I had an opportunity, I took it, and I ran with it.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty
Yes,
cool.
sir.
So as we land the plane, as we wrap this up,
Yeah.
one thing that I wanted to bring to the front is I've been reading a lot about Michael Jordan and his life. I've done it many times. One of my favorite interviews was in Michael Jordan said he was with Oprah, and she said, "Growing up, who did you want to be?" And he said, "Michael Jordan." She said, "Well, there's a lot of kids right now that want to be Michael Jordan."
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "I would tell them not to."
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that, and what I believe he meant by that is, I love that you said, look, Susie Brown is my mentor, but Caleb Caldwell's goal is not to be Susie Brown, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Caleb Caldwell's goal is to be the best Caleb Caldwell that God intended him to be.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
And who knows, if you set out to be Susie Brown, God may have something bigger for you that you miss because you're like, okay, I've achieved Susie Brown level, so I'm done,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who is it? You mentioned a lot of people there. You mentioned Cody Askins. Cody's been a friend of mine for years. You mentioned Andy Frisella. I love that, all the First Form stuff like that. Who are some other people that you look up to, some books you read or whatever? If you had an agent, we've been talking about how to get to an agent to 100. Who are some people that you're like, listen, I would encourage you to read this, listen to this, do this?
Yeah. So first, I would tell you to listen to Andy Frisella, the Real AF podcast. Absolutely, just has changed my life in the sense of taking ownership of my life, and kind of learning, discipline greater than motivation, because motivation is fleeting. It's an emotion, comes and it goes. Discipline is doing what you hate, but doing it like you love it. And so, Andy Frisell has been huge in my life. Honestly, my pastor, Pastor Craig Rochelle, he's the pastor of Life Church. He has been huge. He's on my Mount Rushmore. Just being, a great man first. Yeah, he's a great pastor, but he's a great man. He's a great husband. He's a great father, and he's doing all of those things. And like, that's what I wanted to be. I didn't want to just, have a kid and let my kid exist, or I didn't want to just get married and, just kind of exist. Like, I want to be the best husband I can be. I want my wife to be able to count on me. I want my son to look at me and know, like, hey, that's what discipline looks like. Whatever my dad says he's going to do, he's going to do it. And this morning, like, I had intervals this morning. I'm listening to Medicare Sales Playbook while I'm running my intervals, and my son is leaving for daycare with his mom, and he said he'll turn 2 in November, and he said, "Daddy running, good job, Daddy." And like, that is the coolest thing ever, right? He knows that on Tuesdays his dad runs,
That's
and
cool.
so that has been huge for me. And honestly, I'm going to be, what has changed and transformed my life more than anything has not been a book, has not been a podcast, has not been, but it's been Jesus Christ. Giving my life to Jesus Christ was the best thing that I ever did, because it allowed me to not see myself in the flesh, but just allowed me to see myself as a soul. And my soul doesn't belong to me, it belongs to Jesus. So everything that I'm doing here, is to get to a greater place, right? To get to heaven. And so the fact that what I do now, I always tell people, it's kind of like a ministry, because I get to lead people, I get to guide people, I get to be there for them in their time of need, whether that be with annuity, with guaranteed income, whether that be with life insurance, if something were to ever happen, whether that be with their Medicare. At the end of the day, I'm here to help people and take care of them. And I feel like that's what God put me on this earth to do. So getting in the Word, learning about Jesus Christ, learning about why I believe what I believe, and not just believing something because that's what I was taught my entire life. And really just digging into who am I as a human being, but also who am I in different aspects. Who am I as a Medicare specialist? Who am I as a dad? Who am I as a husband? And is that product of me, is that better today than it was yesterday? If I
Whew.
can get just a little bit better today, right? I was thinking about this. So my wife and I were training for High Rocks. Okay, so High Rocks, if you don't know, it's 8 kilometers of running. In between each kilometer, you have an exercise to do. So like 1,000-meter row, you have 1,000-meter ski erg, you have burpees, you have just a lot of different stuff. We've been training for this because I said when I was 30, I wanted to become in the best shape of my life. And so running has never been one of the things I was good at, but I've been running for the past 3 months. And what I know is now is I'm not a fantastic runner, but I'm a really average runner, right? Because I've done it every day for the past 3 months, and I've gotten a lot better because 1 + 1 always equals 2. If you can just try to get a little bit better, and whatever it is, whether it's your job, whether it's so I always have the 4 pillars: your fitness, your faith, your family, and your finances. How can you get just a little bit better each and every day? And then what you have to do is find that goal. So who do you want to be like, or who do you want to resemble? And then work backwards. So if I want to look like Jesus and I want to be him, I have to work backwards and say, what did he do to get to where he was at?
I hope y'all are listening. Couple things there. In closing, my dad was a Baptist preacher, so I can say in closing at least 4 times. Looking at yourself as a whole. A lot of people will segment, okay, I have work Dallas. I have church Dallas. I have friend Dallas. No. It is Dallas, right? That all of that encompasses, you can't separate them. I love that you are looking at yourself as a whole and saying, okay, everything that I do points to a purpose. It is to be more Christ-like. It is to be a father. It is to be a husband. It is to be a friend. All of that. I love that. Another thing that we covered today that I loved is the fact that you went from, I'm a Medicare agent to I am a person that helps people. One of the things I do is I write Medicare, but I'm a person that helps people. I said on the last podcast, nobody grows up wanting to be an insurance agent, but everybody grows up wanting to be a good person and want to have a fulfillment in life. This is just a tool that we use to do that. So, man,
100%.
Caleb, if folks want to find you, if they want to follow you, where can they go?
Yeah, for sure. You can follow me on Instagram. It's Caleb A. Caldwell. So CALEB ACALDWELL. And then I'm also on TikTok, Caleb the Medicare Coach. Go ahead and give me a follow. And with that being said, one thing I kind of wanted to talk about too is that a lot of agents, when they first get into this business, they will listen to stuff and they try to do everything at once. And then a lot of people will tell them like, hey, don't do that. I'm the opposite. I'll tell you to do it. So like I talked to Tim, the Medicare man. I started doing social media. He was like, just do what I do and just do exactly that. And that's what I did. I literally just copied his videos and then I made it my own. And like a lot of times we look at stuff and we're like, man, that's cheating. No, it's not. They literally are giving you the blueprint. I can't remember who you had on here that had she did her first AEP in her bed. What was her name?
Brittany Garrison.
Yeah, she's a dog, but she was so real about it. She was like, yeah, he told me I'd literally just like copy, like, rinse and repeat, and then make it your own. But at the end of the day, like Medicare, you're not teaching anybody anything new. The rules are the rules. How well can you explain it and how can you get in front of people? And so, yeah, that I think that is the coolest thing. And then you asked me, what have I read? If you had to read 2 books, I would tell you to read The Comfort Crisis. I can't remember who wrote that one. And then I would tell you to read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Beautiful. Caleb, it has been a pleasure, man. I'm glad you reached out. I'm glad you said, hey, I got something to give, because folks, it has been given, right? Go back and listen to this one again. Take some notes. Look at, and if you find yourself saying, yeah, but Caleb stop it. Caleb didn't have anything you don't have. Caleb had an opportunity, grabbed it, and he took it off with it. I'm encouraging you. What is your opportunity? What have you missed? Go back and grab it and run with it. Caleb, thank you. Great job, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
You got it. Guys, as we wrap this one up, I want to encourage you to take a look at yourself. Take a look at the opportunity that is in front of you. Maybe you have an opportunity and you don't know how to grab it. You're like, man, I know there's opportunity here, but I don't know how to work this the right way. Reach out to me, Dallas.Keithley at the MedicareSalesPlaybook.com. I don't have all the answers, but I know a lot of people. I've been in this a long time, and we can find the answer together. I would love to visit with you. Keep watching, keep listening. We appreciate you guys. Thank you. Thanks to Caleb again. I did notice that he said his wife said I was boring, so I got beef with her. We're going to talk about that later, but I do appreciate him and all he's doing. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time on the Medicare Sales Playbook.